Okay.
So free birthing people, most of the times they know what they want. And really, I mean, whatever free birthing families I have worked with, they really want me for their husbands, because husbands are going to be there as attendants, and they want to be uh, more confident in what to do and situations. And because obviously male brain works like very rational, logical, compartmentalized thing. So they want list of 1 2 3 4 things that they could look for, and this type of thing. So but women, they are confident. They are like, I'm going to give birth. We are not going to probably need any homeopathic anything, but you calm down, my husband. And that's what I do.
Nice. Nice.
So, but people who come late and they are like, oh, I haven't talked to my husband yet. And I'm like, you're 38 weeks. When are you going to have this conversation that you want to do it at home? And they're not the people I really involve myself with, but as a professional, I'm there to give you advice and charge money.
Is that what I'm forgetting? We are not professionals, Radhikun. We are not professionals.
I have learned the hard way to become a professional, because I was again help all and change the world and philanthropy, and I realized no, I will wear myself down. This is not the way. If I need to sustain myself, I at least charge money or something else, but some exchange has to be there.
Yeah. Well, well done.
And something strange is happening. I'm very famous with Muslim clients who keep on having 3 4 5 babies, and my name goes on circulating in so many groups which are like Amani Birth and Muslim doulas, and somehow they find really comfortable talking to me and working with me.
Nice.
And then I get random clients like at 38, 39 weeks. And I'm like, where do you get my name from? And she's like, yeah, I'm in that group. And somebody from Kuwait suggested your name. Somebody from Pakistan suggested your name. What? And I'm apparently the lady who helps people have home birth without being there.
Oh, there you go.
It's funny. I mean, nothing to do with their faith. I mean, I have tremendous respect for every religion and every faith. But I'm slowly getting to know the culture, the Muslim culture, the family structure, like from really close. And I really say I like them. They are.
Yeah.
So,
I think they're one of the nicest religion. I mean, in terms of religions or people who walk up, they're very sweet.
Yeah.
Nice people. Yeah.
Sometimes people who say, oh, we are not, religious, we are Hindus, but we don't follow rituals, but we are modern. They are doomed, because they are not connected with their bodies, their minds. They are blown away by the ideas of modernity, but I don't know what their ideas are. It's like being uprooted from everywhere, from your faith, from your ancient lifestyle, from everything. So I would rather work with illiterate or moderately educated humble women than very modern women and professionals who think they know it all.
Here.
Yeah. But in your situation, like Mayapur is not, a big city, the fear is going to be there. And this is the people who are in between. They are not incomplete faith of nature, and nor they are incomplete modernity. They are somewhere in between, and polluted by the medical system and the fear. So it's tricky.
The medical system and the fear and the way they're used to being. Yeah, it's crazy. It's very strange.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I want to write all this, but I don't know where I'll find. Anyway, got to go. Thank you so much, KL. We'll meet next time.
Okay, Tapasya.
Mother says
catch up with you for a bit anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting you soon.
Yeah, I'll come. I'll come.
Die.
Okay, see you next time.
See you. Haribo. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we were starting to talk about last time. There's two books up there in white rings, binders. Yeah, homemade jobs. So yesterday what we did, we had our clinic day. And we were showing how to set up the oxygen bottles. That was our activity, the game for the day. And as we were doing that, we were discussing shock. It's right. Shock and the unconscious patient. I started to show this one before. It's very good to learn how to, so I'm sitting here, which one do I want to do? There's shock in the unconscious patient, and then what does that say? Labor and birth process. I have a feeling I want to do this one. What do you reckon, Radha, rather than this one? I'll do, because they were, okay, so this discusses the process of birth, and I won't do it like this. I'm going to share a screen with you. So give me a minute, a sec. All right. So can you see that? You can see okay, good. So this is called labor and the birth process. No. I thought we had this conversation. Let's say Pore se calque. No, Lavina. Okay. The 5 P's of labor. The passenger, which is the baby. The powers, which refer to the uterine contractions. The passage, which is the pelvis and maternal soft parts. They take up space, maternal soft spots. I want a pelvis. The pelvis is there, and a baby. Position, which is the mother's position, and the psyche. So the mind, how the mother's mentally coping, managing. The passenger, the baby, biological influences. So a pregnancy that terminates during the 38 to 42 week gestation is likely to indicate a healthy baby, fetus. Mechanical influences, the head. No, la vena. The fetal head, fetal pelvic relationship, the relationship between the baby's head and the pelvis, and the cardinal movements. These will explain them, but we've mentioned it before. It's important to understand what the cardinal movements are. We've mentioned before about the baby's head. Let's get you close. There you go. These are the suit. They're referred to as sutures. And this part of the baby's head, the bony portion, is important. Going the other way. It's firm. When it's a great dilator, you really use that baby's scalp, a very hard scalp, to help influence and open the cervix. Because it's firm, non-compliant birth. I guess they're saying the rest of the body is flexible. It's of the most important, this bony head. Sutures and fontanelles I just mentioned, and the space between is covered by a membrane. Landmarks, again, head is divided into designated areas. The sinciput is here. Vertex, the occiput. And then you have two fontanelles on either side. I'm showing you with this baby, but I'm hoping, yes, next one we'll have a diagram. The frontal bone, the biparietal bones, the occiput, the temporal bones. And all these shmish smash when they're going through the pelvis, the birth canal. You can see back of the head, the lambdoid. This is the lambdoid suture. Posterior fontanelle. Sagittal suture. Coronal, I call it coronal suture. Anterior fontanelle. It's here. You have this suture going through. The sagittal suture again. And then you have here is the frontal suture. Whoops, here's the frontal suture. All these sutures are landmarks. They are important to know. They are important to get used to what you're feeling. This tells you the attitude, the position, the way the baby is relating and moving through the pelvis, the angle of his head. When we get together next time, I'm going to throw you out these diagrams. Only there will not be any labels on them. You can label them. In this next diagram, so this is the position, the lie of the baby, and how the baby is presenting, how he's lying, and the attitude. The attitude is how the baby's head is responding. This is the lie, the way the baby is lying. We have presentation, head, our sacrum. Do we have a sacrum here? No, later. So we're looking at the lie, whether it's up and down. Is it across? What's presenting? A head, a butt, or a foot, or a shoulder? What point are you referencing? So in this page here, they're showing you all head first, all vertex presentations, head first. So the reference that we use for a head first baby is the occiput. You know this, left occiput anterior, left occiput anterior, left occiput posterior, transverse, then or right occiput posterior, anterior, transverse. Okay. Any questions on any of this now?
How does it babies like?
Yes. Yeah, good question. It will come up.
Okay.
It'll come up. So chat. Yes, I'm going to send out the PowerPoint. So let's see. So I just mentioned all the occipital presentations. Vertex, occipital, head first, all the same meaning. Just get fancier and fancier. Okay, next we have breech presentations, right? So now here we have a different presentation. It's still longitudinal, going up and down. It's not transverse like you're asking. It's still up and down. But in this case, it's the butt. We're looking at a bum. And in this one, it's a frank breech. Both feet are up. Like this. It's a frank breech. So this is, as you know, it's called a breech presentation. It's saying presenting part, but in the other page, they refer to it as the reference. So the reference here is a sacrum. Because in this particular breech, yes, the presenting part is the sacrum. Think about that for a bit. The attitude. What's the attitude of this baby? This baby's attitude, he's tucked, his head is down, and he's flexed. Except for at the knees. The knees are extended. These knees in this frank breech is extended. And the head, the attitude of the head is it's flexed. Single footling breech. So one foot, get that foot down. Thank you. Is like this. Again, he's up and down. Again, it's breech. The previous one is also known as a complete breech. Incomplete. What's the complete? That are you calling him complete? Okay. Frank breech, complete, incomplete, or footling breech. Meaning of so what you will find on examination are feet, toes, because this is hanging over here. This leg, the leg is already out, but a footling breech is where you can get the foot first. It's bent here. Bend your leg, as you can see here in this picture. And then one leg slips out, often before completely dilated. Still a breech. The reference is a sacrum still. The attitude is flexed, except for one leg is extended. This one's up here, and the other one's curved. Complete breech, again, longitudinal. What's the presentation? Breech. Here you can find a combination of feet and buttocks. So they're saying it, they're referring to the presenting part as a sacrum. However, having said that, when you're actually attending a breech, it isn't the sacrum that presents. It's a butt. The butt cheeks present. Unless the foot is, they're sitting Indian style, cross-legged on the floor. And then sometimes you can feel their toes in there. Yeah. And this is the attitude, general flexion, meaning everything is tucked. He's tucked in. And to answer your question. So the lie is transverse. You can see. They call it a shoulder presentation, sometimes just a transverse lie. Presenting part, the scapula. That's what enters into the pelvis. So in this case, it's the scapula. The attitude in this baby, he's flexed. This baby in the picture, his head's in, his legs are really twisted in there, and he's lying something like this. Often I actually find them more, I don't find them so much slumping in. To be honest, I've only had one. Unless they were on the way of spinning, right? Either they were a breech turning to a vertex, but I've only met one true shoulder presentation. And that one, he was like this, just kind of like in a sling. That, yeah. Any questions from this point?
How do you get out?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. What you can, we were talking about this yesterday, I guess. We were talking about, I would get in there if I were to do it again. The one that I came across, this one was a platypoid pelvis, and I think we do get into the discussion of pelvises in this presentation, which is where pelvimetry comes in. So this is a long time ago, mind you, and I can't remember all the details. I do know this mother had an older son. I do not remember how he was born, cesarean or vertex. However, upon examination, it was very clear she had a platypoid pelvis. I did what I would have thought to do. We'll discuss that later. And no, there just wasn't enough room. I did do an internal on her, and her pelvis was just so narrow. There's no way you're going to get a head through there. So she ended up with a cesarean. So I was surprised why. Yeah, I don't know what happened with the first boy. Okay.
So they can get into positional, like why does that happen? What can it be?
I'll show you. You know that the one you drew out, I gave actually it's sitting here. One you just did for me with the pelvimetry and the pictures of the pelvises. This is so these are the different pelvic types. And the one that this woman had was on the bottom. It's called a platypoid. And it's a very narrow inlet and outlet. Hard for a baby to come through. But the hips are very wide. They kind of come out like a spoon shape almost. And that's why babies kind of use it like a hammock. And they lie very comfortably. All right. These are different diameters of a baby's head. Yeah, let's get you. This one's even easier to see. What we're looking at are different vertex presentations. So again, vertex meaning head first, but I can see in this one, they've broken it up again, which is true. Head first presentation, again. What am I pointing to? Yes, occiput. What's this? It's right there. Syncciput. So, this actually, in this reference, we're talking about the attitude of the head, whether it's tucked down. So, when the baby is tucked nicely, you have an occipital presentation. When you look at this, if you can follow my arrow, this diameter here, what if I can draw? Nope. But this diameter here, okay, it's a big word. Yeah, it's that. Suboccipital pragmatic, meaning it's presenting with this diameter from this fontanelle back to the occiput. There's a diameter here. Sometimes it's good to use a piece of paper. So here's a plane. Let's see if I can do this. Across here. Here, there we go. And that is the smallest diameter of a baby's head. It's much smaller than other diameters. That means the baby's head is tucked. Another attitude is untucked. And the baby may present here with this way, or this way, or this way, called brow presentations. So that's an occipital frontal diameter. That's across this way. Then as the baby tucks, hang on, where am I? No, I got that. Why are you? Oh, you. The worst diameter is when the baby continues to, what is this, abduct, look backwards. So you want them to flex, then you get this diameter, which is the smallest diameter. But the least flexion to here, and then further back is extending. So I'm flexed. I'm not flexed. I'm extended. And if this is the opening, I'm presenting with the occiput, with the front or the brow or the face. So the point being that these all have different diameters, different attitudes. And you can see that the hardest one is when it's extended with the brow. That's the widest diameter to fit through the bony pelvis, as well, once it's about the bony pelvis, we don't care about the vagina so much or the perineum. At that point, the head's negotiated through the pelvis and is out, or is released from the pelvis. Any questions on this? Can I explain it any better? I'm sure. Oh, and when we talk about a brow, they refer to the mentum. You know, you'll see, you may see a chin come first with those ones, face presentations. I'll put up a photo soon of one of the birds. Any questions on this?
I have a question. So
Yep.
that didn't show up, so I am still here. In my midwifery course, we had practiced, like when you do a vaginal exam, you try to find out which part is presenting. But when I was studying that and when I was practicing on the skull, it is like very complicated. Like you don't know what you're touching. And when you're touching a mentum, maybe you confound it as a butt cheek. Who knows?
Oh, it does happen, and there can be different reasons why you can be thrown off guard, you know? Yeah, exactly right. I'm trying to think, how did I figure out that this was wondering if the shape of a baby's head differs greatly from natural birth? Yes, it does, even as kids. I don't know about as kids. You're right, it can be confusing, but that's why we used to play around with things like that and keep your eyes closed. And when you're at a birth, and of course, if things are going well and smoothly, you don't bother checking. But when you get delays and hiccups and slowdowns or something, there's a question in the air. That's what you're going to look for. You're going to go in there and you're going, what the hell is showing? Now, yes, you can get in there and go, is that a butt? All this time, I thought this is a head. Is that a butt? Because it's soft and spongy. You push a little further and oh, there's the skull. You just got a bit of caput growing. There's a bit of swelling already. Oh, it's just swelling. Okay, we're good. the thing that tipped me off, I was expecting a brow with the face presentation. I was expecting this bit to show. So as she was laboring, the labor was unspectacular as such. I do remember her working so hard. It was hard work. She had a water birth, and especially second stage, she really pushed her guts out, pushing this baby out. So, and I'm expecting this. But as something showed, what the heck, cam checking, making sure there's progress. That feels weird. I still can't really figure out what I must have been hitting until I got, got that. Do you slip into the mouth? And it's quite spectacular to watch. So yes, it is hard to tell sometimes, but sometimes this is how you tell. And learning these things and learning these sutures. And as we go on too, you'll it'll become more clear and more explained why we look at these things. Come on. Okay, there you go. Pretty much what we said before, but just the measurement across these are the things that have to move through the bony. This is the thing we consider when it's a head first going through the pelvis and the relationship between the pelvis and this thing. Okay, so let's explain this. So this came up yesterday. What is all this? What are we talking about? So yes, it's good to understand exactly what we're speaking about. You will hear the term station, 0 station, +1, +2 station, -1, -2 station. This refers to the baby's descent into the pelvis. And the line is drawn. So another question was asked on this diagram at the bottom. I'll send a copy of that out too. In the middle of each drawing, you will see a circle and another with arrows. And you'll see that they all fit under. There's a line above it, a line that's drawn across it. So the line is drawn between the ischial spines. I'll show you what that is. Here is the ischial spines. There. Here. So there was a lot of confusion yesterday trying to explain how this all works. So first off, right now I'm sitting. This is how I'm sitting. I'm sitting on these 2 bones. Those are the bony parts I sit on. I'm not sitting on this, just this. My back is straight up from here. I'll turn around a bit. No, you're looking at me. Hard to do this. So inside, you see those bony protrusions. Can you? I'll point to this thing. These bony protrusions here. That's these bits here. So you imagine a line being drawn between these 2 points. Here. There it is. Here it is again. These are the ischial spines. So when you do pelvimetry or when you do an internal on a woman, this part you will look for. The first time you go in there, if there's any kind of delay with a labor, if you're if you're asking questions, you need to have a good feel in there and around. You need to know these landmarks and what they all mean. So you do an internal, one of the things you're doing, you're feeling for this bridge across here, how wide it is. Can you get your fingers in there? Can you separate your fingers? Is it tight? You can only get one finger in. With the platypod pelvis, they were asking me yesterday, with that pelvis, as I come down here, that's what you do when you do pelvimetry. You'll feel this and then you'll run your fingers down here. In a platypod, instead of coming out like this, you go down. So it cuts across sharply. Whereas these are nice and wide. So when you do your internal, you feel down the side here and you find that spine. And you'll find it, you'll feel it, and that's your measurement. So while you have one finger on that point, you bring your other finger out and you find the baby's head. You're trying to get to the top of the baby's head here. So negative station is how high up the baby is from this imaginary line. So for every centimeter that this baby is above that line, there we go. He's on it. Right now, this baby's engaged. If I draw the line straight across, he's engaged. He's sitting at 0 station. For every centimeter above that, it's -1, -2, -3, -4 station. So babies often, by the time we're feeling them, they're usually around -4, mostly. Yeah. -5, they're pretty little. So mostly they're floating here until toward the end of the pregnancy, they sink lower and lower and lower. Women will start feeling, I'm feeling a heaviness, and they get lower and lower. And you can see how they drop down. Now, again, engaged, +1, +2, +3, +4, 4 pretty much, you're out. +4, babe, pretty much the baby's head's out. It's a heavy head. So any questions with this right now? Is it very vague to you or is it making any sense?
Yeah,
Exactly, you do have to feel it. So indeed, we have said we've been having many parties, more parties to come. Where is the cervix in this? Good question. And moved out of the way. Yeah. Well, it all depends. All right. When the baby's high, well, to be honest, it's been an awful long time since I've been inside a woman without an older baby being in there, right? I haven't been in there with a young baby. Why I'm saying this is about where is the cervix? When the baby's high, one would expect the cervix. So if I'm doing an internal, I'm going downward, yeah? And I'm entering around this point at this base. Clitoris is up here, around here. Vagina, anus. Yeah, so I'm going downward. And then as I go downward, I'm heading downward, but then I follow the top of the vagina. So the top, my pointer finger is sliding down along the top of the vagina. Depending what I'm doing at this point in time. Okay, we're asking about the cervix, sorry. So up about here. Can you see that? Does that make any sense whatsoever? Gosh, we're gonna have to get a model in here one day. We're gonna have to do this live. Oh, Kalindi, we need you. Often when the baby starts to sink in, and especially if you're in labor and the woman's later in pregnancy, you will find the cervix will be pulled to one side or the other. I have a very small hand for one thing, so it takes me a bit to get to a cervix. I often have to what I call walk a cervix forward, which is exactly this. I'm walking it forward, dragging it, dragging it, dragging it, dragging it forward. So I can get my finger into it. This is if the baby is the cervix is not dilated nicely. I have to pull it forward. If it's dilated, I don't have to do that so much. Usually I'll get in there, I'll find the opening of the cervix, and then I can, from that, I do lift it forward and get my fingers around to feel how it's dilated. Sometimes you will get your finger in there and find the cervix pulled off to one side or the other. Now, having it pulled behind the head, I'm used to that. Even and in front of the head is always good. That's a good dilating position for a cervix. But sometimes you will find that the head has come down in such a way that the cervix is pulled to one side or the other. And this is where you get later soon in this, we'll talk about, and that's why this information here is also important, understanding these sutures, where we get synclitic and asynclitic present lies or attitudes. Yeah, attitude, bloody attitude. Can you understand this now with this scale? I know we had some trouble even live trying to make this understood. It's hard for me with this. But again, it's this line across here, imaginary line. You're measuring taking your finger, measuring it from here to the baby's head, wherever it should be. Okay.
Can you show again where is the line, please? I don't get it. Under here. Okay. Thank you.
These are called ischial spines. Ischial spines. There's a little. So when you're feeling here, you will find it. This is all soft, 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 soft. Even if you have a lot of soft stuff between your fingers and the bone, you know, you're running your finger along the bone. It's all soft till you get to this. And it's specific, it's clear that it comes up and comes out. When you get it, it's a pointy bit. And when you hit it, there are nerve endings here. So women will go, oh yeah, you got it. So you just imagine a line drawn from one to the other. And that's the line that they measured descent from.
Okay.
Yeah, like this. So that's the line. But of course, you're looking at it this way. You're measuring it, how far the baby's come down, how far the baby is above this line or below this line. So for every centimeter above this line, you put your finger there, and one finger is on the spine, not the tuberosity, the ischial spine, and the other one is on the top of the baby's head. And depending how high above that line or below the line, that's referred to as station. So, yeah. And zero station is engaged. That's how they define engagement. Yeah. So the stations do not relate to dilation. They only relate to how low the baby is in the pelvis. And indeed, you can have, and we recently had this, where we had a very, very low baby, but the cervix just was not willing to dilate. in response. Baby moves down the stations after can the head also move down when the dilation? Yes, the head can move down without the dilation. It will, there'll be a point where it'll stop. And in fact, you need, if the baby doesn't continue to descend, or there's a point where it'll just stop at the, like this is what we just had, where the woman did not dilate past 1 or 2 centimeters. Again, it was more fear. She was pushing back. She wasn't really happy to be in labor. So, I think is a fair way to describe it. And
I was actually gonna ask about her and like, because I remember you saying like she's like 1-2 centimeters, 80% of face, and then the baby wasn't very low in the pelvis.
it was still up here.
Okay.
It was still, yeah, you're
So you
right.
could feel the baby?
I can feel so I could feel the baby's head. I could get
Yeah.
in there. So in this case, the last one, and again, there is a lot of anxiety, very much anxiety in the room. There's no way, there was lots of stress. And so I find this line, okay, and I reach up and I find the baby. So not only, by the way, is the baby going up and down just like this, yeah, he's actually going like this. You know, it's kind of like an elevator too. You know, so you have to kind of come down this way. The head has to get into here, right? He has to tuck his head down enough and get under. I always get confused without the body. It's hard. So he has to tuck his head down enough to enter in. So what was happening here is I could feel this baby sit right there. Right there. So I would do an internal, feel the ischial spines, go up here, and feel that this baby was sitting very comfortably and getting stopped here.
And you had to move her cervix, okay?
Because it was pulled up so behind.
The head wasn't that far down.
Correct, yeah. And again, if it's only in early labor, that's not so unusual.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, if I go in and a woman's reactive to her labor and I'm watching her like I was, and then, okay, let's have a feel, let's see where you're at. And, you know, you say, oh, it's only 1 or 2, I narrowed down. She's only in way early. You wouldn't even call her, it's not established labor. She was not established. There's tension there. So sometimes it's this way because it's just early labor. That's simple as that. It's early labor. When I do it, I will pull it forward because I have to. I have small hands anyway.
Yeah.
So, and in so doing, and I'm doing something too, just a little bit of meanness, not really, it's not too mean, but if I warn the mothers, I'll tell them when I pull it forward, you're going to feel this. And I told her that, okay, I got your cervix now, I'm going to pull it forward and you're going to feel it. And they do feel it. And often I'll talk them through it. Okay, this is where your cervix needs to go. It's going to come up here. As your baby drops, your cervix is going to come forward. Your baby's going to move through it and apply more pressure on your cervix. And that's what you want. But when they feel that, or when this woman felt it and another woman was feeling it, they tense up more.
Why was so painful for reading barely, like it seemed like touch to it.
Okay, so here was an interesting thing too. When the first time I tried to, it was the second time I did an internal on her because she came here wondering why she wasn't in labor when she was like 37 weeks. And she was worried at 36 weeks, she was really pressuring. But there was a point at 38 weeks, and she was very, very anxious why she wasn't in labor. So we talked about a bunch of things and there were other issues in her family. So she wanted to know what was happening internally. So I said, okay, we'll do. Oh, and she was always tight. She was complaining about having contractions or stuff. So I had a feel. And the same thing, she was not dilated. I had to pull the cervix forward. I said, okay, at that point, because she wasn't in labor, I found the exact same thing actually. the cervix was exactly the same. So I went in there and did this exam. I moved it forward. I said, feel that cramp? You're going to have to get, that's a cramp you're going to get used to, yada, yada, yada. But you are about 1 centimeter dilated anyway, and you're very thin. You're good to go. So don't worry. In labor, now I go to check her in labor. And the first time before labor, I said, okay, don't tighten up. You have to relax. You know, if you can't let my finger in, you're not going to let a baby out. So again, here we are doing it again. I touch her. I just rest my finger. Oh, and she squeezed, and it's, you know, these guys are tight. I'm floppy as all hell. You can drive a bus in there. But they're, you know, these guys, you sit, squeeze tight, and she's got me. She's got me. She grabs me. Okay, and I don't move. I stop. As soon as I feel the tension and the resistance, I stop. And I say, I've only got 2 fingers in there. I'm not moving. And they're wincing and whatever. I'm in this far, that far. They're wincing. I stop. The whole head is going to come through. This is nothing. You have to let me in. You have to relax. You have to, when the contractions come, you need to welcome them and open. And as I'm talking to her and guiding her, she starts to relax. And without me moving, my finger slips in. Suddenly, my finger is at the back of her vagina. I did not apply any more pressure. She let go and I just slipped in. So I'm talking to her about this. You're tensing up. Then I finally actually pull the cervix forward and tell her, you're only 1 or 2 centimeters. Well, I didn't say it like that. I said, good, you're in labor. You're 1 or 2 centimeters, but it's early labor. And she wasn't happy to hear that at all. She was concerned about the pain. Now, why am I saying this? You were asking about the cervix, why she was in pain and why did I have to pull forward? So yeah, that was that story. Yeah. Okay, so yes.
Can we feel the position, like the station? Can we feel them externally? Because sometimes the midwife, they can say that the baby is engaged already. So how can we know externally?
Externally, there is an external way of gauging engagement. And that is when you put, well, first off, is you put your hands and you're feeling each time, you know, when we do those movements for checking the baby. So when we're doing into the pelvis, so, and usually you're doing it week by week or fortnight by fortnight, you get to know this baby and this baby's head. So in the beginning, you'll start getting your fingers coming close together as you're above the pelvis, you know, they come closer together. And then as time goes, they don't come together. They're further and further and further apart. They're also, when we get down there, we do what's called ballottement, pushing the baby back and forth side by side, expecting, and there's some movement. There's a point where you cannot move that head anymore. That's called engagement. So again, be wary, always. It's good to check these questions out too, because there's different definitions in medical terminology. And it's just medical terminology. The baby's engaged when when it's sunk into the pelvis. However, in terms of obstetrics, they say they will only confirm engagement when they do an internal and measure the baby at 0 station. Midwives will determine it during palpation. Now, I mentioned station and I mentioned the ischial spine because if you're during labor, again, these are landmarks. You're watching a baby move through the pelvis and you get an idea as to how he's moving through the pelvis by checking many things, including the station. And it's It's putting your hand into a wet box. And you don't know what's in that box other than all the drawings I'm showing you, all these little gizmos that I'm showing you, you know about it. But you put your hand into this box and now you're finding, blinded with your eyes shut. Oh, here it is. Here it is. There's the ischial spine. So where's the baby? Oh, there you are. Okay, there's the baby's head. Okay, what part is this? What is this? Now I'm swishing my fingers back and forth across the baby's head. What am I feeling? Where's the sutures? Where's the biparietal bone? So you don't need to get caught up. In some ways, don't get caught up in things. As you know, as you just said, Mavon, we can determine engagement without going inside. I do not need to make the obstetrical definition of engagement, suit, meaning I know it's engaged by my hands. I don't need to so-called confirm it by mentioning the stations. The stations become handy when you are looking at, thinking, watching a baby being born, watching a baby journey through, navigate, maneuver. And as I've said many times, this is not just a lump of flesh. This is somebody who, this person has to move. He's doing something all the time. He's doing something. And he will crawl back. They do move backward too. I've seen that. Question. Stations are also a guess, right? Well, they kind of are, but they're as much of a guess as dilation is, because I'm guessing because I'm moving my fingers apart, right? So over time, when you're, come on, you guys must be doing that by now, no? Aren't you guys taking a tape measure and spreading your fingers apart? Aren't you guys trying to figure out what 10, because you won't know. When you get inside a woman's vagina, you're not taking a tape measure with you. You're trying to remember what it feels like, what the stretch is. What does that stretch feel like? And to be honest, actually, the truth is, we just say 10 centimeters. We actually want the cervix to disappear altogether. So sometimes you get to a point of measuring how much cervix I can feel left. So I get my finger in there and all I get is head all the way around, but there's a fleshy bit somewhere else. And then maybe I put my finger on the fleshy bit and measure what's left. Oh, I have a centimeter of fleshy bit left. And often that will be maybe a cervical lip. Usually if there's something like that left, it's a cervical lip. Or they're 9 centimeters or 8 centimeters dilated. And their baby's low enough, I'm not going to keep pressing. I'm not going to keep going lower, back, just to get a number. I'm happy with what I'm feeling. So in time, you get used to these things. You get used to what your finger feels like. And I always say, if you're going to make the point, yeah, what's that to you? What's that?
I can't stretch my fingers beyond 9 centimeters.
Exactly right. This is my point. It took me time. It took me time to stretch my fingers that far. But now I can. And actually, I can't just, this is not 10 centimeters. I need to get a baby's head and I need to push against the head to spread my fingers apart. And again, tell me, Who the hell got a tape measure in there and decided it was 10 centimeters anyway? So the real deal, what we're doing here is we do not want to find any more cervix. That's what we're after. Indeed, in the beginning, because everybody's asking you, how dilated am I? And we also want to know, we also gauge in this way, how dilated are we? So a thin cervix would be a better predominant. All of it, all of it. You know, I was mentioning this other woman, and when I went in during like the first time I feel her, she's next time I go in, I come back out, I have blood on my finger. So I'm adding all this information together. A thin cervix would be better. If it,
Um,
not necessarily, it depends how the
necessarily.
baby.
Yeah.
Huh?
Because not necessarily, because I have felt like a thin sheet of cervix, but only 2 centimeter of dilation.
You know, and I've had the same thing.
It was as if like a mask was stretched over baby's head, but only with like 2 fingers of space.
And you know what this is? It's the internal and external os. So sometimes I have felt this a number of times where I go into a good dilated cervix. It's not a little dilated. She's in active labor, right? And often even in transition. And I'll get in there and I've been telling her, oh, you're doing well, you're doing well, you're dilating, you're dilating. So all of us together tells us what it does. And then all of a sudden I'm feeling and I'm thinking she's 6 or 7 centimeters. And then I notice something else. Damn, you bring your finger in and you find another hole, a whole nother hole. And then what the hell? And when I separate that thing, it's like tearing. It's like tearing. And it's not a membrane. It's not the membrane. And then as soon as I separate my fingers, it's gone, it's over, and then they start moving forward. I have no idea what I'm touching. But I have felt it a couple of dozen times, you know, it's not uncommon to find it. And the whole time I'm telling this woman, oh, you're going, yeah, good dilation. And I've read about it before. I remember Heather telling me about it before, but not like what I found. You can, in other times, I've clearly found the external os has dilated, the internal os not as much, and I can clearly feel the difference. And when I try to move stretch my fingers in the internal os, I've got an os, I've got resistance, but this other thing is just this film, like plastic wrap. I don't like membrane, but it's not that membrane. Maybe it's a membrane of something, but I don't know what. It's not that membrane. But also what I'm saying too is I'm very much saying this is a mystery. No matter what, you know, no matter what you're looking at here, no matter what I'm teaching you, in the end, you keep it on board for sure, for sure. And what I'm telling you is relevant. But no, you're going to put it all together when blindfolded in the dark. And things are going to show up that nobody told you about. I didn't know about that. Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Unless you have another question. Yeah, no, you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Do we always need that it's really 10 centimeters, or are there babies that can be born at 8 and the mother will never dilate more?
Exactly right. And you can have this issue. In fact, this becomes a bit of an issue in some cases for breech babies and premature babies. It's not a really big issue for a premature baby if the premature babies are smaller, so they get through quicker in a smaller dilation. Breech babies, their bums tend to be smaller and they're softer. And so the body can wiggle through sooner than then the cervix actually completely dilates. And again, there isn't really a magic number of 10. It's really about not feeling any cervix at all, that you get your finger in that vagina and all you feel is a head. That's all you feel, nothing but head all around. And again, I say, if you're gonna go in there, get as much information as you can at one time, so you don't have to go back again. Or that you have, all of a sudden, you wish you had checked that earlier. So do as much information as you can. Do it quickly, thoroughly, feel all the way around that baby's head. Can you feel a lip somewhere? Talk to the mother, pay attention to the mother's faces when you're moving inside of her. Did she suddenly jump somewhere? When you're doing it, we'll get into it soon. Pay attention to all of what you're feeling on this baby's head. You are going to figure out when you get to that head and you're running your fingers all around it, you need to find out, what's the attitude? Is he tucked? Is he not? Is he on one side or the other side? Is he moving down nicely or not? Find all this stuff out at the one time.
Okay. I'm just thinking that these centimeters norms
Yes.
have been made in the West, and that my babies are double size of my Indian friends. So basically it's like 4 kg all babies, 2 kg their babies, with my friends at least. So
Yeah.
maybe sometimes we are freaking out because an Indian mom is not dilated enough, but maybe she just needs to do like until 6 and it will be enough. So, and then she thinks that she has a long way to go, whether 6 will
Yeah.
be enough to let her 2 kg baby go.
Yeah. Nice. Yes, Radhikund?
So with this mother that has 2 days labor, is it safe to go ahead and induce her? I wouldn't say induce, like, I don't know, if there was like a tea to help her get her labor and contractions going, is that safe to do that within that 24 hours rather than wait and let her?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, when I met her, eventually she kept coming back. So I saw her at 40 weeks and she was anxious about going into labor. So, and she did have situation around her and she was anxious. So, and there was one legitimate one I would bend for, the father. So I gave her some things, what I had on hand, which was at the time I had motherwort. I had pulsatilla. I gave her Oh, if you remember, she was posterior too. This baby was posterior for a long time. And then suddenly when the husband returned home, oh no, we gave her the pulsatilla. Then she came back, the baby had turned. And then, so I told her to keep taking the pulsatilla. You can use that. If you can get some, I gave away the collophilum, so I don't know who I gave it to. Why aren't you moving? Yeah, Gelsinium. That'd be nice. Wish we had some, I do wish we had something to work. So what was I saying? Okay, so we gave, and rescue remedy. I gave her rescue remedy. What else I did? So then labor started. I let her go. We hung out overnight. Not much progress, not much movement. I could tell she was in early labor. She, her face was bright and smiley. She was nowhere near. Yeah. So this is, so I gave her those when I was in the labor and I'm watching her. I gave her more rescue remedy, pulsatilla again. I don't remember if I got the hold of the collophilum or not. Did I? I don't think so.
Yeah, there was like 3 bottles you left with them.
Yeah.
2.
So mostly I had herbs. So I had the motherwort and skullcap. I brought in skullcap. That's right, because she was anxious. And I would have given her the colophilum, but I didn't have it. And I don't have enough homeopathics. Yes, yes, it is. Oh, and wait, more has happened from 623. I'm having a hard time. Oh, and 1523. Oh my God. I'm having a hard time. I don't know if I can handle all this actually. So where were we? Yeah, 7. So I left her with these herbs and stuff. She took them, but really it was just this fear thing and this anxiety. She was worried about the pain that she was enduring already. That was so intense, according to her. And she felt she could not, if it had to get, and I kept telling her, it's got to get harder, 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 blah, blah, blah. And this became more and more fearful for her. And of course, everybody's looking at her like, oh, you poor, the mother's got the look of terror of, poor thing. And the husband is there. And every time she has a contraction, he's just, he's just so worried and anxiety for it. I'm just so stressed for her. And it's just, I was like, you need to go to the hospital. I talked them into going, nah, go to the hospital. It's okay. Nah, you'll be fine. It's good. But yeah, it was a trip. Still is. We haven't heard back. So yes, I would. In the old days, if I had my kit to myself and what I wanted, I would have immediately given my herbal concoction that I make out of blue cohosh, black cohosh, both of which is pulsatilla and colophilum, motherwort, tramp bark, motherwort, squaw vine, red raspberry. That's my tonic. If it's a first time mother, I'm happy to give them this tonic. If I want to induce or kick a labor along, I'll use this. And I would have given them that. And along with colophilum and or pulsatilla. And I would have worked out a system with them on that. And that's my version of induction. Having said that, and being in a whole new planet where I used to be practicing, it crossed my mind to give her Pitocin. It crossed my mind. I didn't, but it crossed my mind.
Was this to just help the baby come out? Like, because a stuck mother in her head is also a stuck baby all along, like.
Exactly. And from the get-go, and for weeks and weeks and last 6 weeks, I've been speaking about this woman, knowing it was going to come to this point. And I don't know what to do. I'm not, I like hearing how Tapasya says, no, move them along. It's not something I'm good at. I haven't had to do it. I haven't, but once I've moved along. So Krista's, I'm reading what she's written, which is nice. Contractions definitely were also very painful. It's demotivating if contractions start coming regularly. Exactly right. This is what's hard, And so for my second baby, this was a little bit different from the first one. So tell me, okay, so you planned pain relief. What does this mean? What did you do, Krista?
So this is in Netherlands. I was with a midwife.
Yep.
I was with a midwife. So it was like 3 days, 3 nights. I didn't sleep at all because anytime it's coming in night, and in the day it was less than in the night. So I started to feel very like tired. So she suggested to plan to go to hospital to get some not the epidural, I think that other one, just so that I could sleep.
Was it not
Not
gas?
gas, no.
What else would there be?
I don't know.
I'll have to look
Morphine,
it up.
like
It could be
Oh,
Demerol.
Demerol.
yeah,
Demerol?
something like that. Just
Wow.
so that I could sleep because I hadn't slept in 3 days. So we planned for the evening to go there, and then right before we planned to go, then somehow I feel like the baby shifted or something, and it kicked off very fast. And that actually it was not in my memory even that contractions from before, they were very painful, but once it got going, it was, you also get that pain, natural painkillers, you know. So that makes it easier to cope with sometimes than even this irregular contractions. Yeah.
Yeah, I have long labor. A lot of women have long labors, predominantly, as you call it, or long latent phase, or in
Yeah.
the old days they used to call it false labor. They don't like to call it that anymore. So I know with Mundakini it was 4 days, and the same thing. You don't sleep, you know, and if you've got other kids, it's harder. I only had one other, but still, it was harder. And my parents around, that was harder. But yeah, I don't remember what it was like early on. I'm trying to remember. You're saying the pain was there, it was real and intense. And I'm trying to
That evening before it really started off, actually that day my mucus plug also came out, so something was happening, and that contractions were very painful, but they were still not coming regularly, like every 5 minutes or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, so it's not always such a linear process, you know.
Correct. Very much. Exactly right. It's not linear. I swear to God, no baby or pelvis or uterus has read any of these books of how they're supposed to behave. They never, uteruses don't, no, they didn't read this. We're trying to catch up with them. And they don't come with measuring. Now, why don't they come with these measuring gates? That there should be a grid on all pelvises like this. Or a greasy door should just fly open. But yeah, it don't know what to say. It's an interesting thought about the pain relief, and yeah, I did have
I
this
needed
thought.
what story was before there about needing some relief? I feel like that was holding me up somehow.
Well, it's just funny. It's different here for me running into such things.
But you want so much. I wanted so much to go into labor, and it's very frustrating if it's not really kicking off.
Exactly. And then somebody checks you and tells you you're 1 or 2 centimeters, and the next day they
Yeah.
check you again and you've gone, you know, I'm lying to you. You're still 1 or 2 centimeters. That's the good news. Sometimes you go back. They might get up to 3. Really, I've done this. They get 4 or 5, and then the labor pitters out for a bit. And you go back in, and they've actually undilated. They go back. And I actually cannot tell that to the mother. I won't tell them that. They'll kill you or break down in tears. But it was a very I'm interested that I actually sat there and considered giving her some Pitocin. Probably the thing that stopped me, I wasn't sure how to give it in this way. Probably the best way is through an IV drip. Oh, Denishta was there. And the thing is, I haven't heard back from Denishta. I hope she's okay. I hope I didn't kill her again.
She's just sick. She's trying to recover. She's got fever, she said.
Yeah,
So
I got a
hopefully-
message from her today.
Oh yeah, hopefully it's not worse than that.
Well, I hope it didn't come on from the birth. It was, you know, it was rough for her.
No, she was already sick before the birth, but she didn't have
That
had a
was,
cold, but she never had fever, and she still had some energy. So you know, she was fighting something, and you know
that's
that
true.
just. I think it might put a little stress on her to where, you know, now she's full on fever, and so she's just recovering. And I bet you the hospital did not help with her, you know, not feeling
Yeah.
good at all, having to
Yeah.
deal with.
No,
Yeah,
no, and I'm still waiting for that story.
I
So,
think you should send her in with Rada though.
yeah.
You should have
Okay.
sent her. No, that's good. You send her with Rada, and when they see Rada's face, I think they will be more calm and more chill with them. They'll be more tolerated.
Okay, you're up.
And the depression, stress. will be
I
less.
know. This is how it happens. It just falls out of the sky, just like Tapasi was saying.
Oh
I
yeah.
just called me from Kuwait.
Oh yeah.
This happens.
A pretty foreigner. So get her in there.
Oh, funny. How cute. Well, you did massage her during the night, so you must have made a connection. Oh, good, good, good. Very nice.
Strangers there.
Exactly.
Like I can remember.
And this is important, that touch. And especially when women are at that point, you can create a relationship nicely and
Yeah.
quickly and
like
very
nonverbal.
intimate and nonverbal and intimate. And that is intimate. This process is super intimate. So, yeah. Okay, so I'll go to the next one. Okay. No, come on. There. So I keep lifting up this pelvis and hopefully I can make more sense now. We've talked about this, the ischial spine, and you will feel it. And we will, I guess we're going to very soon have to get down and dirty, ladies. We'll have to do this very soon. We'll work with the speculum and you asked. And learn how to do pelvimetry and internals. And then maybe once you get inside there, you'll start understanding. And maybe that's why a lot of times I close my eyes when I'm starting to, because that's what it is. It's just your eyes are closed. All right. So some of the planes that are important, anterior, posterior. This is up and down. So they'll talk about the anterior, posterior relationship or turn. Sacral promontory. It's easier to see on this. That's this bone here. We all know about that. The sacrum. This whole big bony thing here is the sacrum. This whole bit. I just call these the hips, but okay. Here is the ilium, otherwise known as hips. Very important part. Symphysis pubis. This is that little jelly. It's more cartilage. Cartilage here. These are bone.
So does that move like it's cartilage?
Yes. Yeah. And it goes, that's the point. And when in pregnancy, your body releases hormone relaxin, and specifically to soften this, and it softens all the bone. The bone goes soft. Even the bone. Yeah, I know it is. I think so too. And it causes, that's why women can get heartburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this trap door it's just floppy now. They complain about back pain and a lot of women will get sciatic pain. And it's because of this relaxing causing everything to, then when they start walking, they actually, even this, it's a little click here I'm showing you. It's just a little click of probably a 2 mil click though. That's enough to pinch a nerve. I mean, I'm pinched badly at the moment. Something's got me right there. Right there, it's pinched. You see me in the temple room leaning up against the wall. What are you doing? Prabhupada disciples are freaks.
Like I've heard like, I mean, like anecdotal like stories when like, yeah, my kids got wider after I had a baby. Is that possible like permanently or is that just purely?
I don't think their hips, that's a good question. I'm not aware of women's hips actually staying wider.
Hands to certain side, like how did your body change? You know?
Oh, your body change, your
Yeah.
body will never be the same. So, and again, there's so much stuff that we as women take on. And so, yeah, your body will never be the same. Oh my God, there's so much crap just coming from that. Your vagina will never be the same. Never. And it changes every single time. Every single time it will be different and different and different. Who are you? Where'd you come from? What's the other one? Every time your anus will change. Hate to tell you. Girls, Kegels. Always Kegels. You're going to talk about this? We're going to say Kegels. Trust me. But here the transverse diameter is somewhere else. Okay. Yes. Because that's the actual more of the midway of the pelvis. So this is, we're talking about station. That line so the line I'm drawing, I wish I could get myself to draw. Can you draw? Oh. Spotlight? Or this? Pen, got it. Okay, so that's a transverse. It's more in the middle of the pelvis. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to us. And the reason being, we're concerned about the problems. This is not a problem. It is a plane. It means, if we're talking about an angle, if we're talking about where we're looking, it's almost like engineering terms, let's say. Really, what we want to know is this line. That is not the transverse diameter. This line is the line between the ischial spines, ischial spines. And we're concerned about that because those are the things that are pokey. They're coming in. They are the restrictions within the pelvis, right? If they weren't there, look at how much room you'd have. You can see they've got this big red line over here, right? But this ischial line comes in here, and this ischial line comes in here, and makes what's called, later you'll learn, this is called the true pelvis. The true pelvis is the inside of the pelvis, not this. This is not the true pelvis. The inside is the true pelvis. And we're concerned about the true pelvis as the tunnel the baby has to move through. This is the big deal. This is the whole deal right here. So we want to understand all about it. We want to understand what the sacrum is and how does it play a role? Because not all sacrums alike. They change. And it's good to know what the differences are when you need to know. Again, if you're going to go and do an internal on a woman, you might as well get as much information as you can in that time. So if you're getting in there, one of the informations you're going to want to know is the arch, the arch of the sacrum. Hang on. So I'm going to get in there. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to run my finger. I'm going to get as far back as I can. I have a small hand, so I almost never get the sacral promontory. You're supposed to touch your finger to it and take the measurement, because you're supposed to know that measurement already. Then you follow that sacral promontory down. You're trying to feel that sacrum. And you're paying attention to this arch. How does it curve? How does it curve? Some don't curve. Some come straight across here. And that's a concern. That will make the pelvis smaller. That means this is smaller. And then you pay attention, you can feel the tailbone. Tailbones are the coccyx. I like to use lay terms as much as I can, to be honest. The tailbone. This also becomes very flexible, as we know, with that relaxin. It can also break, oh happiness, oh joy. It can break out of the way to get out of the way. Often you will find, in fact, Kale, remember this. So we have a woman. Often you will find that women won't feel right until when you give them a postnatal massage and you're working down here and you get to that coccyx, that tailbone, and you apply pressure. I'm trying to, apply better pressure. And the women, oh yeah, thanks. You just maybe just a bit of pressure as you're coming down there. And giving it a bit more of a tuck in. Do you feel yes, you do. Yes, you do. So, yes. So again, it's important. Like, it's one thing to see all this. There's a lot of shit between your fingers and this pelvis. You mentioned the bladder's here, yeah, and sometimes the bladder will drop down and be in your way. Older women are women who've had babies, and your grand multips. If they come to you early in pregnancy, or for maybe you're examining a woman for another reason. You get in there and the first thing you've got is bang, bladder. Not necessarily, it's just that's what's low. When you go in, you will so clearly find my bladder first. And when you look at it, when you're looking in and out of vagina, you've got the top wall and the bottom wall. And when you're looking at it, they're together, right? So you look at how much you see. So sometimes that wall is low and you see a lot of the top wall. You're seeing, which can be indicative of the bladder prolapse. Sometimes it goes this way, which is indicative of the anus coming forward. Yeah. Let's get another angle here. You're not going to move, are you? Ah! Okay. So in this pelvis, or in that pelvis, you've got your uterus is here-ish. I don't know if you could see this nicely. The uterus is here-ish toward the back, and the bladder is here. So with a lot of kids, as I say, the bladder can fall in. The uterus can fall in so many ways. It can go straight down. It can just flop over this way and flop over that way, or that way. Flops over forward, it puts pressure on the bladder comes down. Flops over to one side or the other, and no big deal, other than they'll have more pain on their hips and feel a little awkward. Going backwards causes back pain, causes pressure on your anus. In time, as you get older and older, it sits there. Now there's a gap here that's referred to as the pouch of Douglas. So when you study your anatomy, yeah? So he can take his pouch back. And this is a gappy area. So I'll explain. Again, personal story. Oh boy. So I've had a lot of kids and I don't look after myself, as I say. It used to be, okay, my uterus is prolapsed, meaning it's falling into the vagina. It's also retroverted. It's fallen over and lies now on top of my bladder. Before it laid on top of my anus. Somehow or other, it's moved over the other way. Then, with this loose, floppy vagina, as time goes on and I get older, when I pass stool, it goes through the anus. And instead of coming, not through the anus, it goes down through the bowels, but instead of going out the rectum or the anus, it wants to come out my vagina. So I would get this bulge in my vagina. And the only way, yeah, shut up, you. I'm looking at you, Radhakund. I'm looking at you. How dare you? You're failing, woman. You're failing. So I would have to go into my vagina and push it, no, you want to go out this way. And so that's the only way I can get it out. And I have learned now that I'm my age and my friends are my age, we all share our shame with each other. So now that I've been doing this for so long, now the whole thing is prolapsed into the pouch of Douglas. Now it sucks to be me. Yeah, don't ask. Lindy Priya asked. You can ask her what my answer was. Yeah, it's that bad. And can you believe this is a secret that, yes, what, Radhakund? What? Unmute, tell me.
I actually wonder if that's the same case with constipation, because you're talking about it and I'm thinking, is that what I experience when I'm constipated? Could it be the same thing? So I'm laughing because it's relatable.
I know. See, we all experience it. Women do experience it. And it's so funny. It's so funny. We're so messed up, man.
Oh yeah, we are.
I think so. I mean, it
Would it be different if we were on all fours? Like, do other animals have this kind of stuff?
yeah, they do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is. It's natural of growing old. And even my mother, I remember my mother would tell the story of my grandmother and how she would sit down. She would sit down. Oh, wait, let me move my bladder out of the way. And then she'd sit down. And then I did notice, sorry, Mom. I did notice when we were traveling with her and we were in Europe and she was older that, it was sharking, skags in her. She would lose her bowel motion, not just little marks. What's going on? Now I know what's going on. And not just, I talk to my friends and I can make jokes about anything. So I get my friends in a big hysterical laughter about these things. So these other friends that I speak to, half of them are meat eaters. So you mentioned constipation. Yes, many meat eaters are constipated or their stools are heavier anyway. And indeed, so when you get older and when you go through menopause, your tissues, and menopause is a big player in this. So while you have estrogen flowing around you, your tissues stay nice and juicy and firm and toned. Now, once you go through menopause, well, the body decides we don't need you anymore. I kind of do need you, but okay. Everything starts to sag. The integrity of your skin changes. That's why older people have that parchment type of paper, that skin. It's like parchment paper. We wrinkle more. I mean, I'm not too bad for my age, really. I've seen some people my age or even younger, way worse than me. But on the outside. I'm way worse than most people on the inside. And it's part of it's the menopause. It's the fact that many of us give birth to more than one baby. We don't take care of ourselves properly after giving birth. People don't take care of us properly after giving birth. We don't necessarily exercise properly. That's why I was just mentioning the muscles. Can you help the muscles to stay in their position? Yes. Yes. That's why I keep yelling, Kegels, Kegels. Those pelvic floor muscles are important. I will stop girls on the beach, high school girls on the beach, and tell them, do your Kegels. You'll thank me one day. But really, 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 and there's ways to do Kegels. There's, there's 2, 3 really stages on it. And yes, you're really trying to pick up that pelvic floor, which we really don't take care of enough. And so I try to be honest about how decrepit I am, because I used to go to birth and tell women afterwards, do this. I never listened to it either, but you should do it. And then now I actually have stuff to say. Hey, now I can tell them, actually, I really should have done what I'm telling you to do. And now I can tell you why, because life is like this. And then they're, you haven't finished your talk and everybody's doing their Kegels,
What
So
is
things
Kegels?
like, okay,
Yeah,
questions.
you're talking and I'm doing Kegels.
So Kegel, these are tensing your pelvic floor muscles. These are specifically, let's go back to the pelvis.
It's not used to doing it, you don't know what muscles to focus.
Exactly. Hang on. So let me see if I can close that. Yeah. Get to, what was I going to do? Oh, go backwards. Okay, I should have erased it. No, you'll be all right, I think. What am I looking for? Was there a muscle? There isn't any muscles here. Okay. The pelvic floor muscles, there's many of them. And in this position, from this angle, in this view, there's a sweeping thing going across here. Can you see? Yep, you see that. And so imagine here you've got your clitoris, and just underneath the clitoris is the urethra. And below that, you have your vagina. I should write this, eh? Come back. Where was I? So let's say, okay. Clitoris, lovely chaos. Vagina and anus. And we have a set of muscles, sphincter muscles. I'm going to change color. Yeah. And they wrap around like this. In like a crazy 8. So these are the muscles we're going to work on. When you tighten these muscles, this is the same muscles you would tighten if you're passing urine and you didn't want to, you want to stop passing urine, you tighten that muscle. And if you pay attention, so that's the top. That's when you're tightening that muscle, you're tightening it up here. Yeah, in this spot, up around here. Now, that's that part. It's one muscle. It just winds, it just does it crazy 8, but it's one muscle. So we often know the front part. Now move down a bit and feel your vagina and try to pull in those muscles. Tighten those muscles. And when you tighten those muscles, did you feel your stomach muscles tighten? Yeah. Now continue to move backwards. Move down here. Bring that into the show. Tighten that up. Now, another part of my stomach muscles are tightening. And these are your pelvic floor muscles. And these are the ones we're working on. We're tightening when we're doing our Kegels. So there's 3 different exercises we do with the Kegels. One is, like I just said, start with the front, go to the middle, go to the back, and pay attention to what you're doing. I would hope not. I'd hope not. To be honest, again, they should improve your orgasms. Just to let you know. And you want to keep this intact. So one exercise is, as I'm saying, you're tightening top floor, middle floor, bottom floor, pulling them all up. Next exercise you could do. Ow. Stop. Sorry, I get leg cramps. So next exercise is tighten your pelvic floor, that muscle, focusing on the middle, the vagina, but feel all of them. And now pretend it's something like an elevator and suck it in. Suck your vagina up and in. And when you do that, you'll feel all these muscles drying up at the same time. Let it go. And again, drawing it all up, try to suck it right up into your diaphragm. Hold it for as long as you can and let it go.
Nice group exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes I'll get so actually there is a time where you will, when you go to birth, if you've done stitches, if you've sutured somebody, let me see this question in. Oh, okay. Yes. You're right. Tighten and the release. Yeah, I need to, I want very much to figure out how to educate more, get the education out there more for sure. What needs to be known. So there are times when I'm doing an internal and I will ask the mother to squeeze my fingers. And especially after birth, you're going to pay attention to it. Sometimes, again, I admit I've gotten slack in my old age, being a retired midwife and all. You would normally kind of check a woman at the final check, right? You would look at her, you may do an internal and check where her uterus is lying. And this is what the normal practice used to be. This would be around the 6-week check. And then maybe at 6 months, if they felt like seeing you again, some women want to be checked up again at 6 months and I'll do it again. So I'll go in there, I'll be feeling inside and out, and I'm asking, now grab my fingers. Now, right after birth, it's really interesting. Ask them to grab your fingers. They can't. There's nothing there. There's no muscle tone. It's gone. If I've had to suture them, I will put my finger in and I will check that I didn't make any damage. And then the final check is, sorry, you got to put your little finger up the anus and swing it back and forth and make sure you didn't drop a stitch through the anus. Yeah, you'll feel a stitch. And you don't want that. Yeah. So those are the exercises. I'll get the eraser out. And any questions at this point? Okay.
I
There's
just
so much.
want to add about
Yeah,
girls
go.
that sometimes we think about only doing them lying down, but we need to do them lying down, standing up, sitting, and squatting at least, because that's
Can-
a different kind of pressure that we can put on our body when we move during the day. And
Yeah.
lying down, there is no pressure,
Yeah,
so it's not enough. Let's say
yeah.
to do them only lying down. In my
Get up.
country, they do some education like this with some kinesiologist and stuff, and the government pay for that to be sure that all the women have enough muscles, pelvic muscles.
Wow. Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Nice is
So that's from my friend. They just told me, wait, okay. They just told me what they do in education, and the person really insists on doing them, on doing all these Kegels at least 4 position.
Oh, I get it. So in all these different positions.
Yes, and
Oh,
also some quick ones and some long ones because it's different
yeah,
muscles.
exactly. Yeah, the fast ones, exactly. Pulsing, see how long you can do it for, how many, whether you can keep it going. It gets glitchy sometimes. Do you need to oil it up? A little bit of grease and oil? No, that was a joke. Don't listen to that. Sorry. That was mechanical. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I won't go any further today. There's a lot more to go, and it is all good and very important. And I do want to go through it. But is there anything else that, do you want to recap on anything? I might recap anyway. Are there any other questions that you would like to ask? I mean, I feel like throwing a question out there, but I have a feeling no one else is going to know how to answer this. That one. Oh.
Maybe anyways.
Huh?
Do a recap anyways. Let's
I
do,
can.
let's do
What?
a recap.
That's on the weekend.
No, let's do a recap.
Oh, a recap. Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Right. Okay. The 5 P's of labor. Yeah, let's do a recap because I'm going to throw this at you, right? I'm giving you blank pieces of paper to fill in. 5 P's of labor. Passenger, the fetus, the baby. Powers, uterine contractions. The passage was what we've been just talking about. The pelvis, the maternal soft tissues we were talking about, but there were no diagrams. Position, the mother's position, and the mother's psychological status. So psyche. Okay, the baby. Biological influences and mechanical influence. So they're talking about pregnancy that terminates during the, okay, so the woman goes into labor during the normal time. You know, so they're not, in this particular, for some reason, they are not including the premature or postnatal baby, which for me would be included in this, right? Postdates and premature babies still get born vaginally. The mechanical influences is the baby's head, the relationship between the baby's head and the mother's pelvis, and the cardinal movements of labor, which we will get into. We've mentioned it before and we'll get into it again. So these are the important, really, it's the mechanical influences. There are biologically, a premature baby will have a different influence in this procedure from a post-dates baby. And a post-mature baby will travel differently. So there are biological influences according to the age But I wouldn't just leave it at this lot. I'd include 35 to 45. 35 to 45 weeks I would include in biological influences because I will attend those births. Okay. Fetal head. Again, they're calling it a mechanical influence. It is very mechanical and biological. The bones of the head. Very important. Identify and understand them. Good to maybe whenever you get to come here, you get these baby's dolls, close your eyes and feel these things, get used to what it feels like. So that when you put your finger in a cervix and you're feeling, you can go, where are you? Oh, wait a minute. Oh. Oh. You know, you're going to find. They're referring to the baby's body as being the soft one, non-compliant. But the head is the most important, and sutures and the fontanelles. Sutures are the lines. Fontanelles are the soft spots. Landmark. Get to the next photo. Well, okay. Sinciput is over here, the front, the forehead. Vertex, top of the head. These are the two, there's two sides. Which one are you talking about? Okay, the two fontanelles on the top, there's one on the top and the one on the back, and the two side ones. Temporal, fontanelle, and occipital. And then, what's shown in the next one? Let's see. Same discussion. Sinciput. Vertex. Occipital. Frontal bone. This is the frontal bone. There's the frontal bone. Together they are the sinciput. Frontal bone. Frontal bone. Frontal bone. Frontal. Frontal. Together, this section is the sinciput. Parietal bone, parietal bone, biparietal measurement. These are important to know. And the occipital bone. So these are all bones. These are called sutures. They join together. And this temporal bone, you know, the bit that we rub when we've got a headache, we rub this. That's there. And there's a fontanelle there too, soft spot. Okay. This is known as the lambdoid suture. This one back here. So, baby's head. It's his face. He's turning around. Lambdoid suture. Sagittal suture. Now, this sagittal suture is really important. You want to know about it. You're going to find him a lot. He's the one that tells you whether the head's, what the attitude is. Is he going straight or is he going like this? So you're going to pay attention to this. Anterior fontanelle. Fontanelle suture. Coronal suture. And there isn't a line there. That line doesn't exist. So what you looking at, Radha?
What?
What are you looking at? You look like you're looking intensely.
No, I'm trying to coordinate the names and the,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
follow. Okay.
Okay. So then we started breaking down. This is how people talk. This is how professionals talk one to the other. The way the baby is lying. What's the baby's position? We've spoken about this. So when it's cephalic, depends what country you're from, cephalic, cephalic, or vertex. Take your choice, or mata. This, you're looking at this. So occiput, it will, if it's head first, they'll refer to the occiput. Occiput on the right, occiput on the left, occiput in the front of the pelvis. So that's what we're talking about. Is the occiput on the relating to the front of the pelvis? Is it relating to the front of the pelvis? Or does it relate to the back of the pelvis? Front of the pelvis is anterior. Back of the pelvis is posterior. And then whether the baby's lying on the right side or the left side, left occiput posterior, right occiput posterior, left occiput transverse, right occiput transverse, right occiput anterior, left occiput anterior. So, and as it's broken it down here, the bottom here, you see 4 categories. The lie refers to the baby lying up and down. It doesn't say what's up and what's down. It just says that it's, so in terms of anatomy, this is anterior, posterior. Okay, so this is anterior, posterior. The other dimension is dorsal. So we have an anterior longitudinal lie. It's vertex because it's presenting head first. The reference point is the occiput. That's why they say right up. R-O-P, R-O-T, L-O-P. And they're referring, the reference point is the occiput. And the attitude is depending on whether the baby's flexed or extended or deflexed. Not flexed, not extended is just called deflexed. Extension. So here are your different breaches. A frank breach. So in this case, the presenting part is the sacrum. And though they didn't list it here, you would see the same type of diagram as that, only it would be butt first. And the reference point would be the sacrum. So it would still be longitudinal and vertical. It will not be vertex, it will be breach. The reference point will be a sacrum. So it will be RST, right sacrum transverse, right sacrum posterior, right sacrum anterior, and etc. In these 3 shots, you have the 3 types of breaches. This is your frank breach. Legs are straight up. Oh, and the funny thing about frank breaches too, is after they're born, if they're a frank breach, their legs stay that way. So when they have a startled reflex, their legs go straight out up by their heads. And it'll take them a couple of days for the legs to relax. So, and massage, it's really nice to massage the baby's hips to help them relax. So just a by and by.
Sleeping with legs,
Yeah,
nursing with legs.
yeah.
Or
I know that's how they grew, so they stay that way. Little by little, you try to bring the legs down and
yeah.
yeah. So again, it's a vertical or longitudinal lie. It is a breech presentation, the sacrum, you're saying presenting part, but also, yeah, it is the presenting part and the reference point. This baby is completely flexed, his head's down, but his legs are extended. They're not bent, They are extended. Next one is a foot lane breach. They're calling it I mean, still you would define when you're referring to the position of the baby, you will still say RSA or LSP. I will refer to it as a sacrum, although really what's presenting is a foot or toes. When you get your fingers in there, you'll find something weird. You know, as Tapasya was describing before, she could get there and find something, some strange ridgy area, and I figured that was the toes. Yeah. And then you have your complete breach. Again, everything's the same, except everybody's flexed, everybody's bent down.
And they stay like that when they come out.
They come. This one,
It's because the legs are less of an extreme.
no, they come out. They're more normal, like a regular baby, because the other baby sits like that. It's just the other one whose legs are completely extended. And you can feel. You'll find the head when you'll palpate. You'll feel the head in a fundus, but then you'll find kicking, something wiggling, and not a smooth movement. Like when arms move, when a baby's moving a leg or an arm, it's a smooth, wide movement. Whereas sometimes they just wiggle toes. That's why when she was telling me that she was tickling her baby and that she could feel the toes wiggle in some sort of funny movement, I just did a face plant into her belly. You know, I say hello to the babies, but I just did a bang into the baby. I wanted to blow a raspberry at the baby, and I was like, what are you doing? Because this baby was actually reacting to being tickled. And it was so fun. Okay. Next one. And then you have your shoulder presentation. And this is the only one that's lying transverse. They're saying that a scapula is the presenting part. Yeah.
Can you tell what type of hips a woman has from feeling externally? Or
No, never. Never. Yeah. So they don't mean a thing.
Mhm.
So you get really skinny women and they're worried. Don't worry about it. You get really big women. Oh, you're built for babies. Now you got to go inside. That's why they'll call it, they'll tell you this is the true pelvis. This is what's true. This is not true. Feels true. The various diameters and measurements of the skull, and the reason why they've worked these measurements out, it's based on how the head is, the attitude of the head and what's presenting against the cervix. So depending on how the attitude of the baby's head, is it flexed? Is it deflexed? Is it extended? How extended is he? So all these are different measurements, right? For the presenting part. That's clearly a smaller diameter than that. That's a very big diameter. Yeah. I'd much rather have my baby tuck his head in. Not so good. Apparently, even that's better than that.
Like it looks like extreme, but I feel like it's brain like really okay.
Yeah.
It just adjusts all that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole point of this. These whole things.
Flexible, but I can't, like the brain is so sensitive.
But there's water. Well, within reason. It's not without, they're not indispensable.
Brain like less developed, so it's okay to have a bit more battery.
It's not so much that, it's the whole fact that this is there.
Yeah.
And that the brain is in a solution, it's floating in a solution.
Mhm.
And that it's there for a reason to prevent injury, otherwise.
You question me.
Yes.
Someone, the baby seems so fragile. How's the brain okay?
That's
All that pressure
to allow this thing to move and shift. That's what it's about.
protect, not just,
And so what you're seeing is swelling through up here,
yeah.
through the tissue, not the brain.
That's just blood stuff.
No, that is fluid. That's just fluid.
Hmm.
Now, you can get a hydrocephaly, which is a bleed in the skull. And you can tell them apart because if it's a hydrocephaly, not a hydrocephaly. Oh my God, I am getting older. I'll have to look the word up. It's a Kephihematoma. Kephihematoma, meaning it's part of the head, it's
Yeah.
part of the cephalus. And it's bleeding in the bone. So bones are layers. They're actually layers of tissue. And if the bone gets traumatized, there can be bleeding within that tissue. And you will see it will appear as if it's molding, but it won't be molding. And the way you can tell is it will begin and end with, it will be confined within the sutures. It's within the sutures. Whereas with the swelling, it's anywhere. It's over many sutures.
So like there's the meninges and all this kind of stuff on the brain, like protecting it. So how is like fluid from the inside coming out?
Say that the fluid coming out.
Yeah, like you said, like, you can have like, I guess in the fontanelle, like a bit of, how does that happen? Because I thought like there's like the different like dura matter and stuff that covers and.
Yeah, it's just normal swelling from
Yeah.
compression that, like my fingers, you're better right now. You are. It's really, it gets stiff and you can't move it.
Yeah.
It's a similar type of thing. It fills with that type of fluid. And it disappears within 4 hours. Yeah, it goes right back. Kephihematoma, no, it'll stick there for a bit longer.
I see kids with like weirdly shaped heads.
That, do they stay rear?
I think I saw his baby was maybe a year old and his head was like weird.
Oh, well, that's something different.
Well,
Yeah, no,
it's like,
no, that would be different. Some cultures, of course, mold their baby's head. So, that Ethiopian group, they will mold like this. But there can be brain traumas. And so again, that's why we do pay attention to the birth. I will look at the baby. If I do see a baby with a Kephihematoma, I may give them, that might be a time where I give vitamin K, right? If I felt that, yeah, so I keep an eye on that and watch for them and be a little more careful with their head, precious with their head. But that's the thing, the body has been built so amazingly that
yeah.
it endures so much. It's amazing. And they are built to do that. That's why these things are soft. By the time they're a year old, these things will be gone. The soft spot will be gone. It closes up in the sutures. These things will close up within weeks. And that's the issue with properly post-mature babies, that these sutures will start to close so they can become an issue. That's one of why we discuss it in that earlier up in this power presentation. We mentioned, how did they refer to the baby in the passenger and the, not the powers? Biological influences. So the biological influence on a post-dates baby would be the sutures have maybe sealed. So you would take that into consideration. Same thing. Station we talked about. When I discussed it yesterday here, it was difficult to get through, to get a full understanding of what I was trying to demonstrate. I think I'll have a better chance when we're doing an internal. Or when you're sitting here with the pelvis in your hand and I can show you differently. I'm not sure how we will do this if we do it online. Do the best we can. Yeah. And the last video shot I showed was this. There's another one to show so they're looking down on the pelvis in this particular image. The next image is looking up from underneath. And you can see some of the muscles, ligaments right there that get in the way. Okay, so that's that. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much. That was good. So next time on Tuesday, from what we have done, I'll throw out some blank pieces of paper. I will. I notice, and I know they're not here now, except for maybe one, who did get away without feeding us our anemic, our good blood boosting food.
The record,
We,
I brought stuff up. So I kept it going back.
wow. Rhoda brought it and she didn't share it.
I didn't.
She didn't share. She said she had it in her bag, but the subject didn't come up. So she walked out with it and didn't share. I'm marking this down, man. It's getting marked down.
I thought you already had your iron ladders.
Everybody's trying to avoid this one. It comes with food. I know Marini hasn't showed up since I gave her the assignment.
Get her off. Uh,
Okay, but we'll finish this next time and I'll give you just some questions from what we've covered this time.
all right.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. And I'll catch you next time. How do you vote? Jeez, stop. Send. Okay. Just stop share. There we go. Okay.